the speakers radiate as a cylinder. And because the speakers radiate as a cylinder, if you throw them in, the cylinders are actually interfering with each other. The dipole nature of the speakers also mean that they cancel exactly in between the front and the back. And when they cancel in between the front and the back, the cancellation plane comes inwards. The reason a lot of audiophiles like to do it is because when the cancellation plane comes inwards, you get actually a very deep center image. But because of the depth of the center image, you lose the outside. You tend to have a focus image here, right in the middle. It is a little bit diffused here. It is strong in the middle of the speaker. So you have this, what I call this W-shaped soundstage, which is wrong. So I always like to have them perfectly straight. You will find that the image seems to be a little bit more diffuse, but even though the image is a little bit more diffused, the center image and the soundstage itself turns out to sound quite a bit better.
I've been so many places in my life and time.
So you see, her voice now becomes a little bit richer. She's got more belly to her voice, but there's also the sibilance. Sibilance frequencies are usually in the range of 3000 and up. 3000 and up, the wavelength is about that far. So if I move the speakers closer together by about 3 inches, we haven't changed anything, just the interface between the two speakers.
I've been so many places
Sibilance becomes softer.
in my life.
I know these pieces, these are all my reference pieces. I know the pieces so well, and she's a friend. So I know what she sounds like in real life. You can tune systems like that just knowing the physics of sound, how long wavelengths are, where they are, how they project. The objective of this first part of this is to really get her standing about like this. And the reason she's standing is like that is because when she was recorded, the mic was hanging a bit too high in front of her. So because the microphone was hanging in front, high, she sounds too low in the soundstage. When this was recorded, she was also in her late 30s, so a lot younger. So pretty much younger than she was. So she sounds actually quite young. And now I hear that she is standing right in the middle and she's singing straight. If you get it right, what you will hear is that first she sings straight, then she leans over to one side and she sings, and she leans over to the other side and she sings, and then she goes up straight again. So give this a listen.
I've made some
But what you find is that she seems to be skewed a little bit more to this side. Our ears perceive images based on the phase difference between the two ears. So if you actually turn your head, you can still know where somebody is. Even if you move to the side, you will be able to track perfectly up to an inch, 10 feet away. 10 feet away, the difference of an inch is about 1/16 of an inch. And I find that she's a little bit too far to the left. So if she's too far to the left, I want to move this speaker forward by 1/16 of an inch. It's about that much. So that has now moved the image by about 4 inches. So let's listen again.
I've sung a lot of songs.
Okay, you see there is the easiest part of this one is to get that little shaker comes across. The shaker has to come up, start about here. It comes forward and down, then it goes backwards and up. This one corrects for the plane of the speakers. So to start that, let's get some of the spikes down and get rid of the claw, because then it becomes very hard to adjust. These are pre-1984 US pennies. And the reason they are pre-1984 was that in 1984, the US went from solid copper pennies and they went cheap and they used brass in the pennies instead of pure copper. And the brass pennies don't sound good as pure copper pennies. So I use the pure copper pennies. The speakers do is that there are two cylinders of sound that comes out. What it does is that it paints a picture of the soundstage. When it paints a picture of a soundstage, think of a soundstage as a window into the performance. If the window tilts down, you are actually looking up. If the window tilts this way, you are looking down. So it becomes an opposite of what you typically think. You think you want to raise the soundstage, you point it up. But that's wrong. When you point it up, the soundstage looks down. So when you play something that has got vertical width in soundstage, you need to start thinking about this picture that the speakers are painting of the soundstage. And then you make adjustments as necessary. So let's now play this piece again. And now that it's been spiked, it may sound very, very good. So what has happened is that now the whole soundstage has gone up, and I think it's too high because the shaker comes up here, flies almost horizontally, and it doesn't go up or down anywhere. And the reason for that might be that the speakers are pointing too far down. The leveling the speaker through the floor is always not a good idea because the speaker has got different weights on the front and the back. So what I tend to do is I tend to use this, which is a plumber's laser. This is builders will use this, and I like to use the middle screw of the tweeter. So if I use the middle screw of the tweeter, I find that the speakers are tilting a little bit that way. So I can adjust it. Okay, so now it goes all the way through the middle screw, all the way up to the top.
Good.
So the speaker is perfectly level this way. Now I need to make sure that the speaker is level the other way. Okay, so it's tilting quite a bit to the front, so I need to lower the back. When the theory actually matches the physics of it, it's actually really nice.
Yeah, with the line source, these things are much more important.
Yes. But you'll be surprised how important they are also for even a point source.
One of my biggest surprises was when I did level my power amp and also subwoofers.
And also subwoofers, yeah. Okay, so this one is now leaning backwards. I need to move it forwards. When you turn them 180 degrees, they go up 1/16 of an inch.
Ah, okay.
So you can be actually very precise with how far you move it. So now when you play it again, and you listen to the sound stage, still not perfect. Now it goes away. It comes down a little bit,
Yes.
but doesn't come down far enough. Where it doesn't come down far enough, again you need to start thinking about this picture that the two speakers are painting. It doesn't come far down enough in the middle. It's a bit too far up. If you think about how far up it is, then it is diagonal. So now if it doesn't come far enough down, you need to lift up the middle.
Oh.
And to lift up the middle, you got to do it like that, which means that I need to raise that, lower the front, and raise the inside and lower the front there.
Oh.
And make tiny changes. I will just turn it down. I'll lowering first is easier. I will turn it 90 degrees. And I raise this one by 90 degrees, and that's 1/64 of an inch. So I need to lower this. So
No,
that's
I'm
1/64 of an inch.
no, I'm very curious. It's better.
It's better. Still not perfect.
Yeah.
So I want to do another 90 degrees.
Of course.
And you notice that when I do diagonal like this, it actually doesn't change the speaker itself. It's just the angle,
Yeah.
the yaw of it. Overall, I still find that, I know this piece really well. Overall, I still find the soundstage a bit high.
Yes.
So what you can do to lower the soundstage is to turn the mid-range from mid to low.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so the speaker's in the right position. Now let's do the tonality. So this piece has got a lot of percussion, and the percussions are using various bells as well as various timpanis and stuff. The bells are all made of different materials. You know, like glockenspiels are made of brass bars that's chrome coated. The bells could be steel or brass or copper. And at the moment when we listen to this, everything sounds very steely, right? All the bells sound like steel. And a lot of that has got to do with speaker cable systems and all that. So because all the bells sound very steely, I'm going to turn the tweeters down by about 1/4 of a dB. So at the moment the tweeters are north, so I'm going to turn it down to about 11 o'clock. Yeah, right now they are 12 o'clock, I'll turn it down to about 11 o'clock. And give the bells, focus on the bells first.
More nuance.
Further, there's not more nuance. The bells are steel, the cymbals now sound a lot more brassy, and those are copper bells, so you hear the softness of copper bells.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to turn it down another smidge.
That's
so
cool.
Maybe down to about 10:30. So the reason we do this is that sound is relative. If everything is very steely, the tweeters are too high. You want to be able to distinguish between the sound of all the bells. You want to bring the tweeters down a little bit. And that's less than half a dB difference. The mid-ranges are the reference because you cannot change the reference value, the sound. So you can only adjust the tweeters. The difference is that when bells sound too belly, the tweeters are always too high. So I always give you adjustment for you to bring the tweeters down. And very rarely have I found that you actually need to turn the tweeters up.
Yeah.
So the reference level is 12 o'clock. Right now we got them maybe at about 10:30.
Yeah.
That's all. The maximum to minimum is only 1 dB.
Oh, yeah.
So now let's focus on the drums. Let's focus on the bass. So listen for resonance in the bass. You need to be able to hear the belly of the timpani, and you need to hear the skin on the top of the timpani. So there's not much resonance. You don't hear the resonance. When you don't hear the resonance, a lot of the times it's because the bass gain level is too high. The crossover, we'll fix the crossover later, but right now the bass level is a bit too high.
Yeah.
So I'm going to bring the bass level down a bit. Right now it's at... So you have more resonance, but
Yes.
slightly less impact. So to give the timpanis a little bit more body, I bring the crossover point up a bit because you want the body of the bass is more in the mid-range, mid-bass, where the mid-bass crossover. And you cannot adjust the crossover on the mid-range, but you can change the low pass on the bass by bringing it up a little.
Agree.
So let's try it.
Much more.
So you get much more presence of the bass.
Yes.
Okay, then the next thing to do is balance the bass because rooms are never symmetric.
Yeah.
So now I need to balance the bass on the room on both sides. Focus on his voice. This guy is a Singaporean by the name of Michael Gold. He's got a very deep chest, deep big belly of a voice. He's always got to be right in the middle. But if he sways to, even though the song is called Sway, he shouldn't be swaying.
Yeah.
If he sways to one side, it means that one side of the room has got more bass absorption than the other side of the room. So which side does he sway to?
When marimba rhythms start to play, dance with me, make me sway, like a lazy ocean hugs the shore. Hold me close, sway me more.
Which side does he sway to?
You
know, he's actually moving to the left,
Yes.
right? So if he's moving to the left, I'm going to turn the bass gain on the left up a tiny bit because it means that the left side of the room is absorbing bass more than the right side. So I turn the bass gain up just a tiny bit, almost a touch of the bass.
Wow.
Then we listen to him again. Now
Dance
he's
with me,
right in the middle.
make me sway.
He doesn't move at all.
Like a lazy ocean hugs the shore. Hold me close, sway me more.
You hear that?
For me, it sounds like I'm sitting a bit off center. So
Yeah.
for me, it sounds like he's much a more full bodied.
Yes.
The sound is much more complete.
Yes.
Is what I could say from my position.
Yeah, whether you're in the center or on either side, that shouldn't make too much of a difference because the speakers actually create the sound stage
Yeah,
in the space, in the air space between you and them.
understand. And he's more solid now.
It's now more solid.
Yeah.
And there's just a tiny touch
Yeah.
of the bass. So what I'll do is I'll leave you this CD
Thank
so
you.
that you can use it for testing, setting up all your other loudspeakers. The effect is the same with any loudspeaker.
Yeah.
Not only line sources, but your audio vectors, the Burmasters, everything, it will still, if you can adjust the sway and the tilt of the speakers, it actually
Yes.
makes a big difference.
Fantastic.